welcome to another episode of Wifey Wisdom. I'm so excited to be speaking with my guest today. So, here's the thing. If this is your first time here, welcome. For those of you who do not know me, who's not familiar with who I am, my name is Shanique Luke. I'm a love preparation coach, and I am also the host of the Real Love Talk podcast. And Wifey Wisdom was created as a platform for women who desire marriage, just to get into a conversation. One of the things that I lacked or really didn't have the opportunity to do is have certain conversations about what marriage really looked like, what the experience really was when I was single. And so what we want to do is just create a platform and a resource for women who desire marriage, just so they know that they're not alone. It's not a us versus them, and that everybody just has their own individual journey. So today we're actually going to be speaking with Miss Tinsley about her journey through divorce. And so if it was up to me, we would all live happily ever after, but that's not reality. But the beautiful part about her story is divorce is not the end all be all, right? We automatically assume that when it happens, that is just it. But there is life after divorce. So we're just going to talk to her about her journey and what she learned. And of course, she's going to give you some good advice. So I met Tinsley many moons ago, even though we're still 21, at West Georgia. We met, we lived in the same dorm, but then we had the opportunity to be roommates, and then we created a friendship. So we go way back. So that's how I know her. So she has graced me with her presence today. And I know Tinsley is going to keep it all the way real. Absolutely. So I'll let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Tinsley McCain. And Shanique, thank you so much for thinking of me and asking me to come on to be a part of your podcast. Yes, I'm excited. And like you said, I have gone through a divorce, but I honestly and truly feel like, that's not the end of my road as far as love is concerned. Mm-hmm. So, and like I was talking to you earlier, I have learned a lot of lessons. It was enduring, but I learned them. And so hopefully, I can spread some of that knowledge, and, people that have maybe going through a similar circumstance as me can have something to take away from today's podcast.
Yes, I am sure. Listen, like I said, we go way back. Yeah. And so we always have fun. Our conversations are filled with giggles, so excuse us. But I just know it's gonna be good. So I'm excited. And thank you for just being open and willing to talk about it, because I know it can be a tough conversation to have.
Oh, yeah. And I just wanted to share this because I've actually finally gotten into a place where I can openly discuss this, because like I said, it's been a long journey, but I feel good now. And so, I'm glad to actually be talking about it and not crying about it. You know what I mean?
No, I'm sure. And that's a beautiful place to be in. So we'll allow you to talk about it, but this is also a celebration, you know what I mean? Yes. So like I say, it's not the end all be all. Of course, I always encourage marriage, and it's a beautiful thing, but it's also like it doesn't define you, you know what I mean? Right. So I love to have these types of conversations as well because it just allows us to understand that no journey looks the same, and there can be success in each journey, you know what I mean? Right. So but what's most important is that we as women understand that no one is better than the other, and we're all trying to figure this thing out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because, just kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, nobody, ever really, even though I had somewhat of a model growing up with, a 2-parent household, it was not perfect. And so I mirrored a lot of what I saw, into my relationships, but nobody sat down with me and said, this is really what you need to be looking for, or this is how you really need to prepare yourself, when dating or vetting or finding that special someone. I didn't have a roadmap at all. I was kind of just winging it and like, oh, he looked nice, whatever. and kind of just going off of that. But I really had no, no concrete game plan. I was just kind of rolling
Yeah.
with it. But you do, I mean, for a marriage, you do kind of have to have a game plan. You do.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. So we're just gonna go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So, how long? Well, I know that's okay. How long did you guys? Well, how long were you guys married?
Okay, we were married. Let's see, we got married in September of 2008. And we separated in 2018. So
Okay.
roughly 10 or 11 years.
Okay. How long did you guys date before you actually got married?
Okay. Okay, we were off and on probably about maybe 6 years. 6 years. So that sounds like a long time, and I mean it was it was a long time, but like I said, it was kind of off and on, and we never really lived together.
Mhm.
I would see him, and I would spend the nights over and things like that. And I have a small child. He also had a small child. So we were comfortable enough with each other, but we never actually made it official and moved in with one another.
Okay.
Okay. So it was like, I mean, we had a relationship, but we dated, it seems like, for a long time. So, I mean, that happens. But
Yeah.
let me
No.
tell you, though, I saw red flags. I did see the red flags,
So
but
let's talk about that.
okay.
So, because that is a conversation that a lot of women who, and I won't say not even just divorce, but just like the ending of a relationship, right? Like,
Mhm.
what signs were there before that you may have ignored?
Well, oh, Shanique. Ooh. Well, I knew, okay, well, okay, let's backtrack.
Okay.
When we first met, it was I was in a very difficult period of life. My father had just passed away,
Hmm.
and I met him very shortly after. So it was almost like he was like a safe haven, so to speak,
Hmm.
to
Yep.
me, but I was still going through a lot, and I didn't really give myself, I didn't grieve my father's death like I probably should have, because I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of took all of that I was dealing with my father and jumped into a relationship.
Hmm.
Okay. And so emotionally, I was not balanced.
Hmm.
So a lot of the things that I saw in the beginning, I just kind of turned a blind eye to, because I was already invested emotionally in him. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But some of the things like he had a temper in the very
Hmm.
beginning, you know what I mean? But it wasn't anything where I felt like I would be at risk or I would be at harm in the beginning.
Hmm.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I was like, well, he's just a little hot headed, but
Yeah.
I can deal with that, that kind of thing, you know and we would argue, but then I would, just kind of brush it off like, well, all relationships have, these kinds of things, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I know that we won't see eye to eye on everything, you know.
Hmm.
So even though it was like our arguments would increase, like we did that a lot, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But I would, again, I turned a blind eye to that sort of thing. And then when you're looking at things as far as like financially, are you compatible with
Hmm.
somebody? You know, and I'm not saying that I had it all together, but it was a disconnect between
Okay.
us as far
Okay.
as, how we, our understanding of money, how mature we were with money, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And what we even wanted as far as moving forward and how we planned on getting it. It was a disconnect there.
Okay.
So, like I said, it was some things that I saw. And now those are crucial things, you know what I mean?
Right.
Those are some crucial things. So if any of those red flags ever appear in a relationship, those are the kind of things that you really want to take, you want to go back and you want to look over those type of things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because those only get, those are kind of like your foundational things,
Right.
as far as a relationship is concerned. So, but I did not take heed. I was thinking, well, things can get better.
Yeah.
We were both young too.
Yeah, I
And,
was gonna say that too, because just knowing being a part of the story,
Mhm.
as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, but do you think in your mind at that point, you were like, we're young, it'll get better. Did you?
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah,
because we were like 21,
yeah.
22.
I was
You
about
know
to
what I mean?
say, yeah,
Yeah. So that kind of it was just like, well, we can learn this together.
yeah,
You know what I mean? We're young. We can figure it out. You know what I mean? We got some time to kind of play around, mess up, and get back on course.
yeah.
But yeah. So I
Okay.
kind of, some of those red flags that I did see, which were important red flags, though, I just swept under the rug.
So, do you think that you ignored them because of what you were going through with your dad, or was it more just the desire to be loved and be in a relationship?
Both,
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly speaking, it was probably both.
Okay.
You know, and that latter part, me wanting to really be in a relationship, is all the way true. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I'll admit I'm a hopeless romantic,
Yeah.
and I've always been, and I mean, I love love. I love being in relationships. I love
Mhm.
relationships, and the whole nine. But um, after my divorce and through the healing, I realized some things about, me growing up as a child, and some things that I did not get that kind of led to me being
Mm.
like that. But that's all a part of the healing.
Yeah.
But I had to learn that that was absolutely it. It was a desire to be in a relationship. And as long as, he could make me feel good the majority of the time, I could
Yeah.
overlook, some of the difficulties that we were having, and some of the issues that we were having that we could not find any kind of resolution to.
Mhm.
We would just, maybe revisit that another day or what have you, but we'll just continue on. But yeah, I believe that it was probably both. Me not dealing with my father's death, and then really wanting to be in a relationship. Mhm.
So, take us back to when you first met. How did you guys meet?
Okay, well, we met, oh girl, I remember it was a Saturday night and we were going out for my niece's, who happens to be older than I am, her birthday. It was in
Mhm.
February. And I didn't want to go. But I went, and we went to a club. It was a hole in the wall club, girl. It wasn't nothing fancy at all. Out in Marietta. And so we met there. And
Mhm.
pretty much every weekend following that, we were joined at the hip. We were
Wow.
inseparable. I had absolutely no boundaries. You know what I mean? It was like, we were having fun, we were going
Yeah.
out, and that sort of thing. But, like I said, I had a small child. I was working. I was trying to, I was actually in college as well. So I had a lot going on,
Yeah.
but it was like I jumped, you know, just jumped head first into this
Yeah.
relationship. So that's what I mean when I said I had no boundaries. Like
Mhm.
nothing mattered anymore.
Yeah. And I think and from my personal experience too, uh like you said, your parents were married, and
Mhm,
from my personal experience, I come from a single parent home. And so
mhm,
it's funny to have that conversation with someone who comes from a two-parent household. I don't know where the disconnect was for our generation, because I've had a lot of these conversations, right? And
mhm,
it's like, I think now as a married woman,
mhm,
I think we just kind of showed up for relationships, not really being
mhm.
intentional, right? So even something like boundaries, I did
Uh-huh.
not know what that was, didn't
Yeah,
know how to create them, balance them,
yeah,
none of those things, right? And so, like you said, it was like, whatever, you
yeah.
probably didn't even understand, or I should say, you hear the word boundary, right? You know the
Mhm.
definition, you understand what it is. Both college educated women here, right? But
Right.
then actually implementing it into your relationship are like two
Right.
different things. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Oh
I
yeah.
think that we kind of miss the mark on those sorts of things when it's like,
Yep.
what does it look like to be intentional about a relationship versus
Mhm.
you like me, I like you, now we go together.
Yeah. Yeah. Or let's move in.
Right.
Yeah.
I just
Mhm.
want to be with you all the
Yeah. All
time.
the
I
time.
like you. And then it's like, then you find yourself like now, Mario and I are in a place where we're starting. So, year 3, and we're
Right.
starting to realize, okay, there are some things that we need to be intentional about. We can't just show up anymore. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
it has to be more than just we like being with each other and we want to do this thing called life together. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
somewhere there was a disconnect for our
Mhm.
generation where we didn't learn how to do that.
Right. Mhm. Mhm. I absolutely do agree. And I think that maybe because, we come from our parents came from a generation where, they worked hard,
Mhm.
whether they went to school or not, they got a job, they worked hard, they provided for
Yep.
us and everything. And the idea of marriage was just it was different. It was
Yeah.
different. But plus I can't speak for you, but I didn't have parents that were open as far as, I mean, they were emotionally giving to a degree, but they were not open as far as teaching me, certain things,
Yeah. I agree.
So we were just out there winging it,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
we were out there winging it. It wasn't like how it was in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Like, we're gonna have children, we're gonna raise these children, we're gonna raise them up in church, then we're gonna figure out how we're gonna send them to school, and that whole kind of thing.
Yeah. I think we kind of were the bridge between like the traditional and then the new. I don't like to use the word new age, but like the new age way of thinking and doing things differently. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
everybody now doesn't feel like well, I don't want to get married, and that's okay. Or I don't
Right.
want to have kids. Before that was just you got married,
That
you
was the
went to,
thing to
you
do.
went to school, you got married, you had kids.
Right.
This was how you did it.
Right.
And what I appreciate about, you know, us now as our culture and black people, and we're learning how to just accept different roles.
Avenues.
Yep,
Right. Mhm.
avenues, like, and it's okay, and we're open to having a conversation about it. I think that's
Yeah.
the part that you were saying, like our parents, like emotionally yes, but there wasn't an open that we they lacked an openness, you
Mhm.
know, to have conversations. It was like, don't do this, don't
Right.
do that, and don't ask any questions.
Right.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Don't
Mhm.
challenge me because I'm the parent
Right.
and you're the child.
Right. And
Um,
so I think that I was, like I was saying, trying to mimic the
mhm,
relationship that I had with no guidance.
right,
All I know is that this is what I saw and this is what I think I want,
right.
but I don't even really know how to operate that kind of,
Right.
situation. So
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of trial and error.
Yep. Mhm.
So as you were kind of so going back to '08.
Okay.
And you're about to get married. Well, let's go back to the beginning of '08, not quite September yet. So you're preparing for marriage. Like, what
Mhm.
is your mindset and what is your relationship with God during that time?
Okay. Let me take my step back because this really has been like, when I look back on that whole time period,
Mhm,
it's almost like I want to shake myself,
mhm,
because I feel like I knew better. I knew better. It was like I was putting my heart over my head. And you know how sometimes it's the other way around where your head leads. But I was leading with my heart. Like, I felt like in my mind, I knew that maybe this was not the thing to do. You know what I mean? And so it's funny when you're saying, well, where was I at mentally and where was I at with God? I'm pretty sure God was like, mm-mm, Just kind of hold off a little longer. I may have a little something, but just hold on. But I did not listen, Shanique. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you I didn't trust myself enough, I guess.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't trust that voice of God that was saying, hold on. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I know that you think that this looks okay or that this feels okay, but this is not it. You know,
Mhm.
this is not it. And had I listened, because I always go back to that. And
Mhm.
anybody that I'm having this conversation with, I'll say that in 2008, I knew that I shouldn't have done that,
Mhm.
you know, but like I was saying, I felt like I had already invested so much time, so
Mhm.
much energy, and I was heavily invested, with my heart. I felt like I love this man. I felt like I was in love. I felt like, no matter what we were going through or no matter what the red flags were, I felt like we could make it through,
Yeah.
a part of me. But then a part of me was saying, what if it doesn't turn around? Some of these issues that you're
Mhm.
having, it could grow to be even stronger. It could get worse from here. This is only the tip of the iceberg.
Mhm.
Maybe, you know what I mean? You should cool off. Maybe you should pull back for a little bit and, try some other things to maybe see if y'all can work past certain things. And I just didn't do it. I didn't do it.
So do you think what do you think was the thing? Was it fear? Was it the thought that, okay, I'm not going to find anyone else or I'm going to be alone? Like, what was the thing that, even though you heard it,
Hmm.
you say you knew it. What do
Yep.
you think was the thing that kept you like, okay, I'm just going to stay here
You know
and
what?
just hope that it gets better?
Um, I was because it was my worth at the time. I
Mhm.
was putting his needs and his
Mhm.
wants and his desire over my own.
Mm.
I didn't want to disappoint him, I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to break his heart. You know what I mean? Instead of worrying about my own, you
Mm.
know what I mean? I didn't want to upset him. And I don't want to say, I don't want to sound like it was, like a physical thing, because it wasn't. I didn't want to disappoint him
Mhm.
emotionally. You know what I mean? Because I knew
Mhm.
he was just as invested as I was.
Yeah,
I mean, we're doing
absolutely.
this together and we're on what, year 5 or 6? Okay.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's pretty, but so now we're heavily into it and I didn't want to let him down. I
Mm.
didn't.
That's
Um,
no, go
I
ahead.
know.
I thought you were done. Okay, go ahead.
No, no, I mean, I didn't. Instead of choosing me and putting me first, I
Mhm.
put his wants, like I said, and his needs and his emotions, and ahead of mine.
Yeah, that's deep, Tinsley. I
I
mean,
know,
that's
I know, I
I'm
know. Because it kind of also goes back into that, just wanting to be loved, just wanting to be in something,
yeah,
wanting to feel that security of a relationship.
yep,
You know what I mean? And thinking that I don't know if it was that I felt like I could change him more so than just being already invested heavily emotionally with
yeah.
him.
I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
it's 5, 6 years is a long time. I
Yeah,
think, that's I could agree with you in my personal experience where I've stayed in something a lot longer than I should have, but then it's like you look back and you're
yeah,
like, "It's already been 5 years."
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't wanna the thought of starting over
Oh
is
yeah.
what yeah,
Oh yes.
it's
Oh
scary.
yes. And I thought about that too. And it wasn't like I don't think that I felt like I couldn't do it. I
Uh-huh.
just didn't want to do
Didn't
it.
want
You know what
to.
I mean? I don't want to start over. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't. I don't know who I'm gonna get the next go round. I don't know if it's gonna be worse. You know what I mean? I just don't want to open up again to
Mhm.
anybody, that whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, in my experience, it was having to learn someone all over again.
Yeah.
Like, if you think
Mhm.
about, okay, like, their habits, they're like, I mean, not to be weird, but like they're the way they smell, like they're,
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like just
Oh, yeah.
the
I
little
mean, you
things.
are used to somebody at that
Yeah,
point,
it's like,
and they're used to you too.
uh-huh,
You
yep,
know what I mean? So all of that stuff,
yeah, like,
even just like I know sometimes I would think just thinking about maybe kissing somebody else again.
yeah, absolutely.
You
That's what I'm like,
know?
because if you think about it, the first time that you hang out with someone, right, and you get
Mhm.
close to them,
Yeah.
it's like it's that different, that new. It's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, having to adjust. Like
Yes.
that is honestly those small little
Scary.
intimate moments, right? It's
Yeah.
scary, right? Okay, I gotta do this. You know what? No.
Uh-huh.
And like just the little quirks and how they do something and how they what they I mean, just their order, right?
Yeah.
If you go to whatever the restaurant is that y'all go to every week, right? It's
Mhm.
around the corner. You know
Yep.
their order, you know what they like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's so many things that you guys that are habits of your
Yeah.
relationship that
Yeah.
it's like, I'm comfortable in this. And
Comfortable. That's
I'm
the
gonna
word.
stay here. Because I don't feel like and it's strength in saying I just didn't want to because
Right.
I knew I could. I didn't want to.
Right. I just didn't wanna do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like you were saying, I was comfortable.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It wasn't all good, but I was comfortable,
Yep.
at the time. Mhm.
Ugh, okay.
I know.
Now, we did talk about the signs before, right? So
Mhm.
now you're in the marriage, right?
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Um, and now you're starting to because you said 10 years married.
Yeah.
So at what point was it when you said, I don't want to do this anymore?
Okay. Um, yeah. It was almost like we were going around in a circle. We would have and to be fair, probably a lot of relationships and marriages are like that. You have those good days and then you're gonna have the bad days and then you're gonna have good days. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of going like that. But when I started to see that there was almost like we couldn't even have an agreement or a disagreement, without it becoming very, very volatile. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Then I was like, we're not we're not going to be able to grow from this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I felt like, we were going through some things with the girls because our girls are around the same age. So we
Okay.
were going, they're a month apart. So we were going through some things and I just started noticing, and also during the duration of the marriage, the 10 years too, I
Mhm.
started to, some of the red flags I was seeing, like he just was not showing up for me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He was not showing up for me and in the household like I felt like he needed to.
Mhm.
So when that stuff started happening and some of the other red flags that, I pointed out before and that I was started to see in a relationship, when those ultimately started to get to a point where I just knew that this is who he is. There's
Mhm.
not going to be any change in him. We don't see eye to eye. He doesn't even respect what I'm saying anymore.
Mhm.
Then and then the ultimate thing though was it was about to turn physical.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I said, I'm not gonna stay in this and be,
Mhm.
a scapegoat for you. I'm not gonna be anybody's punching bag. And
Yeah.
so then all of those things started flooding back into my remembrance from,
Yeah.
2008 and
Mhm.
on forward. And I was just like, no,
Mhm.
I made a mistake. I
Okay.
had to be honest with myself then and say, when I knew back in 2008 that I maybe really, probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, now I can stand on that now.
Yeah.
Now I can see I done put in, I've fought, I've tried to do everything that I knew that I could do. I wanted to do marriage counseling. He didn't want to do it.
Oh, okay.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I felt like I
Mm.
did everything that I could do to sustain it, but I was met with resistance, and
Yeah.
so ultimately I said, I got to move on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is not it. this is not it for me. And
What-
I don't like to bad talk him,
Right.
because like I said, we were young and we were kind of growing through this thing together. But
Mhm.
when somebody is not for you, it is going to be evident in everything that y'all do, you know. And so, and that was one of the things that I had to learn too. It was just too hard, and it shouldn't have been. It didn't have
Mhm.
to be that hard, you know. I knew that it was not going to be easy, but it didn't have to be that hard.
Right.
So,
And I think you said something key. When you're met with resistance in a relationship, like it won't be easy, right? But when you guys are in it together,
hmm,
when I've had these conversations with other women who have experienced divorce,
uh-huh,
most of the time it's the lack of support from their mate, right? So it's
uh-huh,
like you're fighting for the relationship by yourself.
uh-huh,
And I believe that marriage is because, of course, even in marriages where the people are happy, right?
right,
Even on those bad days, it's two
uh-huh,
people showing up and saying, "I choose you," regardless of XYZ, right? These
right,
outside
right,
factors, right? We're going to
mhm,
go through this together. So it's
mhm,
when that one person stops showing up, you can't. You
mhm.
it's impossible to do it by
Oh
yourself. You
yeah,
know what
you
I mean?
can't. You can't
Yeah.
move forward when it's
Yeah.
only you. You know what I mean? You're gonna need that support from your spouse.
Yeah.
But when they don't want to open up, also when they don't want to admit, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I was not perfect. And I'll sit here and say I was not the perfect wife. You know, I did
Yeah.
not do everything right, but I was honest. And
Yeah.
I could I would go to him and say, you know what, I messed up. And, I know I didn't do this and I know that but when you don't see your part in it,
Yeah.
it ain't going nowhere. It ain't no resolution, you know?
So,
You
let me
understand
ask you, Tinsley said, "Nah, this ain't it."
that?
So, Tinsley, was it hard for you to come to that moment where you had to look at yourself and say, "I made a mistake"? Like, so now you're,
Um,
like, in it and the thoughts are here, right? But,
yeah.
like, to actually, like, say, "Okay, I made a
Mhm.
mistake." Was that
Yeah.
hard for you to do?
Uh-huh. And that probably kind of I'm sure it prolonged the marriage a good
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. Uh-huh. I mean, to be honest, probably, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, because I got to a point where I was like, you know what, uh-uh, this
Mhm.
wasn't it. But like I said, but now I'm in it, now, and I
Yeah.
didn't want it to be a failure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I said, I wanted to go to counseling
Yeah.
because, coming from the walks of life, we are two totally different people too. My
Mhm.
ex-husband and I, you know what I mean? We did not grow up the same. He, his everyday life was completely different from my everyday life.
Mhm.
And so with that, being understood, I felt like, and this kind of goes into maybe some of the other reasons why I say, um, I don't want to say I felt sorry for him, but I kind of I understood. I was sympathetic
Yeah.
to his upbringing and everything, but I still knew,
Mhm.
even after getting in, jumping in, and doing whatever I could to be a good wife and to be a supportive wife to him, a good mother, and all of that stuff, I still, in the back of my mind, felt like this was not it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I didn't want to give up, Shanique. I
Yeah.
didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't want to give up my marriage. I wanted to continue to fight. You know what I mean? And we, like I said, it wasn't always bad. So I was kind of, I had still some hope left or what have you. But when I felt like, we're just it's a cycle that is detrimental to me, then I
Mhm.
just said, I can, and to him too,
Mhm.
it was detrimental to him too.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't. I had to move out. I had to pull back, and it was a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? Because at this point, you know we've got a house together, we've got some other things, that are
Yeah.
shared, and it's like, what do you do at
Yeah.
this point? And it got ugly. It got ugly between us. But I said, no matter what, I've got to put me first now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been putting everybody else first all these years, in other and prior relationships.
Yeah.
And now I have got to look out for me because I was literally at the point where, I was anxiety ridden,
Mm,
and so I couldn't keep going on like that. I
yeah.
just couldn't, you know. So I had to pull back. I had to pull out. I didn't want to, and it was hard. But like I said, I had to put me first.
So how was the impact of what other people how much did the thoughts of others encourage, well, not encourage, influence you to stay?
Oh,
Like what
well, to be honest, I didn't really discuss my marriage with many people at all.
okay.
You know what I mean? So when I finally did separate and I started to open up, people had no idea what
Wow.
was going
Yeah.
on. You know what I mean? People had no idea. They thought we were doing well. They thought, that I was happy and everything because people just didn't know.
Mhm.
So with that being said, that may be part of the reason why I was stuck for so long because if maybe I had dented to,
Mm,
people that or people that I trust,
yeah.
then I could have gotten some sound advice. But I was
Mhm.
over here in my bubble by myself, trying to
Mhm.
work on my marriage. And, I didn't really have a lot of outside influence one way or the
Mhm.
other. It was just what I wanted to do. And once I was done with that, and I just pulled out and said, okay, enough is enough. But,
Okay.
that was not healthy.
Yeah.
It was not healthy. I needed somebody to talk. I should have been honest, with somebody about what was really going on. Uh-oh, your mic.
Can you hear me?
Okay, uh-huh.
Okay, sorry. No, I was going to say that I know some we process things differently based on our
Uh-huh.
personality.
Uh-huh.
And, for you, that just may have been how you move through that,
Uh-huh.
just based on your personality.
Mhm.
But that's one of the reasons why I created this platform was because I felt like there was a lack of conversation,
Mhm.
and not even intentionally, right? It was
Right.
just, sometimes we don't talk about things, or we're private, or even the concept of I'm not going to talk about it until I'm done with it, and
Yeah.
then I'll share,
Yeah.
good or
Yeah.
bad, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we have to have conversations because and this doesn't have anything to do with relationships, but just like there are certain friends that I have that are strong in different areas. So I'll
Yeah.
call them,
Uh-huh.
okay, I got a tax issue. I'm gonna call my accountant friend or my, you know
Right.
what I mean? So
Right.
it's like,
Right.
doing things on our own
Mhm.
sometimes does hurt us
Mhm.
a lot more. And I
Mhm.
mean, I understand because sometimes it's just a level of comfort and safety that you just
Uh-huh.
may lack, and just feeling
Right.
okay. Um, I can't. I don't feel safe. I don't feel. I'm not comfortable talking about it. But I think it's
Right.
really important for us to be able to just find that safe space in
Mhm.
general with. And I think for me, I'm probably the exact opposite. I'm an open book, so I talk too much sometimes. So sometimes
Mhm.
I have to pull back and shut up.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You just may have to, express yourself more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I've learned. But also I feel like okay, when you are married and you've got a couple of girlfriends who are also married, but then you've got some girlfriends who are single,
Right.
okay? But so when you're discussing your relationship or what's going on in your relationship with some of those girlfriends who may even be married, but I mean, sometimes you may chop it up to, well, shoot, girl, I'm going through the same thing over here. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Minimizing
you
it. Yeah.
don't know if it's just something that maybe you have to endure or if it's really all the way bad over there,
Yeah.
in your relationship. So I think, what I probably should have done was reached out to like some much wiser, I don't even
Yeah.
want to say older, but
Yep.
some much wiser women, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, who maybe been in my shoes
Yeah.
and could give me
I
some
agree.
sound advice. Because when you're bouncing stuff off of people who were new and are young in it, just like you don't really know if that's, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
part of what you need to be suffering through, or if you really, have an issue on your hands.
Right.
So, but if you don't say anything at all,
You don't
you're not
know.
going to know one way or the other. So,
Yeah, I think I'm sorry you had to go through that alone. Because I mean, just even the feeling of feeling alone is like
yeah.
that will
Mhm.
put so much more stress on
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so I hate that you had to experience that. So okay, so now that you have, gone through
Uh-huh.
the divorce, like, is there any okay, I'll step back just a little bit. What was your biggest fear moving through that?
Moving through the divorce,
Yeah.
my biggest fear, to be honest, was that I wasn't going to trust myself enough to keep going, you
Mm,
know, that I was going to allow my feelings to pull me back into a
mm,
situation that I had worked so hard to get out of,
mm,
something that I knew was not, of my best interest. But, when you're attached and you're used to it,
yeah,
and it's comfort there and you're comfortable and everything, you tend to slide back into.
yeah,
So I was afraid that I was going to allow my emotions to be played upon and just say, you know what, I'm better off over here, with him, because we've got such a history, so that was one thing. And then also number two was, I think I was afraid of what it would look like on the other end as
mm,
well. You know what I mean? Um, what was the healing process going to be like? And, would I ever find anybody? Am I going to be alone? You know what I mean? For the rest of my life, because honey, dating and stuff like when you're 20 is different from dating when you're in your 40s. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's a different ball game.
mhm,
So it was a lot of apprehension,
mhm,
during the whole thing, and I had to find stability all over again, you know what I mean?
mhm.
So uh honey, it's been a road. It's been a road.
So now that you can look back, how do you feel about those fears now?
Like it was something that I had to feel
Yeah,
and then just work through.
yeah,
But now looking back, it's like, girl, you had it all
yeah.
along. You know what I mean? I wanna hug that girl
Oh,
and be like,
yeah,
you were gonna be okay. You know what I mean? You were gonna be okay. You're gonna get through it. But yeah, I'm in a much better space emotionally and mentally,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Even physically, because
yeah,
it was dawning on me. I had lost a lot of weight.
mm,
And and like I told you I was dealing with anxiety,
yeah,
at the time. So but a lot of that has subsided and I'm in
yeah,
just a much better place now.
yeah. And when you say I had to feel like
Uh-huh.
and it's okay, right? There's
It
this
is okay.
yeah,
Yeah, because it was a lot of nights that, I just, I was torn. Like, I don't like it here. Cause I was telling you, I'm such a relationship girl that it
yeah,
was like, I just, I don't like it here by myself. I want to be, well, maybe if I just give him one more, but honey, and this, I know we getting ready to wrap up and everything, but
no, you're
even afterwards, I tried to, maybe work things out and it just, it was a
yeah,
dud.
yeah,
So, but yeah, you have to feel it. You
yeah,
have to feel those emotions. You have to feel the anger. You have to feel the hurt. You have to feel the fear, the disappointment.
Yep.
the disappointment in yourself. It's like a grieving process. It is.
Yeah.
And you do have to go through it, but that's the only way that you can get to the other side. You gotta feel those things. And I had to really get in touch with the reason why I was accepting those type of relationships in my life in the first place. You know what I mean? I've got some parental issues, and most likely we all do, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But if you don't ever sit down and recognize what those are and say, okay, this is what I didn't get, or, this is what I'm lacking. And this is the reason why I keep manifesting these type of relationships in my life, because this is what I didn't get. And this is what I want, or whatever it
Yeah.
looks like for your individual, but you've got to get to that healing. You
Yeah.
have got to point it out and then feel them and deal with it. And I had to do that.
Whew. Yeah, that's ooh. I mean, I feel like everything you just said is the exact same reasons why we sometimes find ourselves stuck in
Oh, yeah.
unhealthy relationships.
Uh-huh.
Because everything that
Mhm.
you just listed are the things that we've been taught to um not not ex- are the things that we've been taught not to be. You know what I mean? Don't be
Uh-huh.
fearful. Don't get your
Uh-huh.
feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Don't disappoint yourself. Don't, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, don't be this woman. You're supposed to be
Uh-huh.
strong. You're supposed to
Yes.
be happy. You're
Yep.
supposed to be intelligent. Like, you're
Uh-huh.
supposed to make the best decisions, right? And
Uh-huh.
then everything that you said is the exact opposite of all those
Uh-huh.
things. So now I
Uh-huh.
have to actually look in the mirror and say, okay, like, I think probably, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, the hardest part of all that was when you said I disappointed myself.
Oh,
So when
yeah.
you like have to look
Oh,
in the
yeah.
mirror and say, like you said,
It's
you know
on me.
what? I'm
I gotta take this there. You know
right.
what I mean?
My bad.
Yeah,
Okay. It was
I got
me.
to take it. I take it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I can't put that on nobody but myself,
Right.
because that goes back to in 2008 when I said, I shouldn't
Hmm.
have done that.
Yep.
So then I had to come to terms with the fact that, listen, Shanique, I done wasted 18 years of my life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I didn't put myself first, because I didn't listen to myself.
Yeah.
When I knew I was going against myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Putting everybody's needs ahead of mine. And so I wasted a lot of time that I can't get back. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And but I had to say, you know what, I did it. I did it. I went along the journey, but I am better on the other side. But
Yeah.
I had to look in the mirror and I had to take that L, Shanique. I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
So
did.
yeah. Can I challenge you for a second though? Because you said I wasted 18 years of my life. But I want to
Uh-huh.
challenge you to shift the perspective, because this is
Yes.
what got me through
Uh-huh.
um all those situationships that I sat in. Um it's okay. It wasn't time wasted. It was just a lesson learned, right?
You're absolutely
But
right.
owning that I did love him. That
Yeah.
we were, you know what I mean? Like, even though it wasn't always good, but
Mhm.
like when I came to a position to where I was like, you know what? I learned a lot. I made some mistakes, but I genuinely loved him and I rocked with him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I did disappoint myself. It didn't get what I wanted, but when I got to that place, so
Yeah.
that's why I said instead of looking at it as wasted time, because that was my
Um,
first thought, and it just felt like
uh-huh.
so much. I put so much pressure of failure on myself
Yeah.
instead of
Uh-huh.
just being like, no, I really did love him. And instead of,
Yeah.
because the first thing we do, I think, in general, as a society, as women, is we say, oh, we wasted time. He was a jerk. He was horrible. He was this.
Uh-huh.
In
Uh-huh.
actuality, you did have good times. You did learn
Right.
stuff.
You're right. You're
And
absolutely
so
right.
I always say, like,
You're right. And
making
I'm
your
gonna have to take that because you're right.
yeah,
I did love him. I
yep,
absolutely did. And
yep,
for 18 years, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And we produced a son together.
yep,
that I cherish and I wholeheartedly love, and I know that he
Yeah.
does as well. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, I mean, it was not all bad. You're right. And so, like you said, but it was learning. And if I
Yeah.
didn't do
That's
anything
it.
else, I learned a lot
Yeah.
of lessons. You know what I mean? And so, you're right. It wasn't a complete, it wasn't a complete waste of time. You know what I
No,
mean?
I mean,
Because it was,
I feel like that's what we just automatically do because
yeah, you're right. Hmm.
um when we look at divorce, the first thing is failure, right? But
Hmm.
maybe it was just, it was just a season,
Yeah,
and I get it.
yeah.
Marriage is supposed to be lifelong and all this stuff.
Hmm.
But I think what would be detrimental is if you weren't able to say my bad, right?
Yeah.
If you weren't able to say,
Uh-huh.
okay, I learned, let me
Uh-huh.
do better. Because I think
Mhm.
that's what I'm learning through all of this. Like,
Mhm.
because it's as much as I'm talking to different women, it's also a lesson. I'm only 3 years in too. So I'm learning every
Yeah.
time I have a different conversation, I'm learning too. But what
Yeah.
biggest thing is none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
And learning never stops. You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't. And the
Mhm.
moment we get to a place where we feel like that's the case is when we lose. So
Right.
it's like
Mhm.
that's the point. Most women, if I reach out and they say, "Oh, well, I'm not married anymore. Do you still want to talk to me?" Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because just because you're not married anymore doesn't mean that you don't have a story to tell, or
Uh-huh.
because I can't learn something from you. And that's the whole point
Mhm.
of all of this, is that
Mhm.
there's no one way to success, because
Right.
your
Mhm.
next marriage is going to be successful. You see what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah,
Because of the things
absolutely.
that you see what I'm saying? So it's like
Mhm.
that I, we all have failure. Failure. I think the thing that society put on us about failure just really sucks because we think that's the end all be all.
We think that that's it, and that we can't
Yep.
recover, and that we
Yep.
can't go back up. And I tell you, my life has turned around tremendously
Hmm.
since the divorce. Now, he and I, we are on really good terms.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which is amazing, because a lot of times you don't get that.
Yeah.
It was a rough divorce, but we are actually on good terms now. And we communicate and converse. And I think a lot of that was just, I was honest with him as well, just like how we're having this conversation. I kind of let him know, well, he knew my background, but I had to be honest with him about how I was feeling, you know, during our marriage as well.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm sorry, I may not have been a good wife in these areas. And so we had that kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
So
That's
I think that that's the
beautiful.
reason why and plus, we do share a son. So it's got to be amicable some kind of
Yeah.
way. You got to try
Absolutely.
to make it that way. But like I was saying, my life has really turned around. And I think it's really because of the mindset that I
Mhm.
have now. And like you were saying, that, I know that it is not over for me as far as love is
Mhm.
concerned. You know what I mean? And that everything that I learned, I'm just going to take it into my next relationship and honor myself first and
Yeah.
foremost, so into them, so that, and when you do that, and when you're in a good headspace, what's for you is going to come to you,
Yeah.
so
And I
yeah.
think it's just that self-awareness and this being
Uh-huh.
able to have that tough, honest conversation that you
Mhm.
avoided in '08.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I appreciate, man, that's good. I appreciate your honesty with
Mhm.
all of that. So okay, we're
Okay.
about to wrap up.
Okay.
And it's okay because we're not actually on live, so we can go a little bit over an hour.
Okay.
Um, so I just have a few more questions. So
Okay.
if you could go back to 21, right? 21 is when
Mhm.
y'all met. So
Uh-huh.
if you could go back to single Tinsley
Mhm.
and you wanted to give her some advice, what advice would that be?
I would definitely tell her to slow down and to just trust herself and trust the process, you know. And then it always goes back to those boundaries. You know what I mean? If you don't want to open up and share yourself in the first, then don't. You know what I mean? Make somebody, you got to get to know a person. You know what I mean? Ask the right questions. You know what I mean? Um, Adhere to those red flags, but just slow down and trust the process that you are on,
Mhm.
and that's the biggest thing for me because if I like somebody, I'm ready to jump all in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm ready to go full speed ahead. And that's just that's my MO. I
We
can't do
should get
that no
married
more.
tomorrow. We should get
You
married
know what
tomorrow.
I mean? I can't do that anymore. So,
I
and if
love you.
you said what?
We should get married tomorrow. I love you.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
we ain't getting no younger. We ain't make it time. But yeah, I think, just to trust herself.
Yeah.
If I could tell you intense, trust yourself and trust the process and slow down. You got a lot of years ahead of you. Just slow down and take it day by day.
Yeah.
Don't rush it. Don't rush
Yeah.
the love. Hmm.
Don't rush the love. Yes. Um, okay. So, um, this platform is created for women who desire marriage, mostly women who may be stuck in a situationship or just feeling like she's afraid to start over, she's afraid to walk away, she's getting older and she's becoming hopeless.
Okay.
And her prayer for a husband and for children just seems like it's never going to happen. And she's just in a place where she's just feeling really discouraged. So if you could give her any type of encouragement, what would that be?
Um, I would just say to love on yourself. Love on yourself, first. And have those difficult conversations and those things that may keep you up at night and, those fears and everything. Talk to God about those because He really is there to listen and to help guide you, and He'll tell you. He'll let you know. He'll give you the signs. You'll see the signs if he's right and when he's wrong. But as long as when you start to love yourself unconditionally, that person, whomever's in your life or whomever is to come, has got to meet you at that level,
Mhm.
So it's not going to be any more of that, fly by night type stuff or the one night stands or the people who not really trying to get to know you. Because once those are your intentions and you set yourself out like that, you carry yourself that way, you're adamant about your boundaries, then they have to raise up and meet you at that caliber, wherever you are, whatever level you are. So I would just say to work on yourself, work on giving yourself that unconditional love, that patience, that care, and the right one will come. The right one will come. It might feel like it's taken a long time, but that's that time that you really need to invest in yourself to make sure that you're ready for him,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So,
Yep. Okay. And then my last question is, if there is someone who may be feeling like they want to walk away from a marriage, getting to that place where the thought has entered their mind, but they're afraid to take the next step or afraid of what their parents may think or their peers may think, and just, really kind of going back and forth in moving forward in divorce. What advice would you give them?
okay. Um, I would say and this is, I guess, given the fact that they've done everything that they could in their
Mhm.
marriage to, keep it afloat, to sustain it. And if you're still struggling with the thought of divorce and whether or not you need to go, forward with it, then again, I would say to listen to yourself, listen to that gut feeling. Is it something that whatever is going on in the marriage, is it something that you feel like you can live with for the next 30 years? Are you going to go to bed at night and you still have that gnawing feeling on the inside of you that, this is just not right? Is that something that you will be able to live with for the next 10, 15, or 30 years? Um, when it comes to that, I guess it's really up to that particular person. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of factors that may lead someone to, want to think about the idea of divorce. But all I can say, because it's a tough one to have to grapple with anyway. So all I can say is whatever it is, can you live with it or not? You know, if you feel like you cannot go another day in that type of situation, let alone another year, then there may need to be some changes made. You know, um, if you feel like, well, maybe we can get some counseling on this particular issue, and then we're good. If we could get counseling in this area, and he shows me that he wants to meet me halfway and do that, then and y'all relationship will be good after that. Then I say do that. But if you got a long laundry list of things that you can't deal with at the end of the day, but you're just staying there out of convenience, then y'all need to, it's some things y'all need to discuss. It's some serious things y'all need to discuss. Y'all may need to, sign some papers. I don't know. It just depends on your relationship. But at the end of the day, if you're laying awake at night about certain issues and you've been doing it for 3 or 4 years, and you don't know if you can go on another 3, then that's serious.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, Tinsley, tell the people, do you have any current projects or anything going on, or how they can follow you or get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, I have a pretty lively and active Instagram page where I'm on there, and I talk about a lot of different things. But now, because of the season that I am in, God is preparing me to do other things. I'm not going to go into detail about it yet because it is up and coming, but my Instagram name is Vibrant Sass, and that's VIBRANTSASS, Vibrant Sass, and that's on Instagram. So if you want to come on over and just kind of continuously check on me, I am going to have some things in the works. So come on over and see what I got going on.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Tinsley, for joining
Absolutely.
me today. This was beautiful.
Oh,
I appreciate your time, your transparency. I know
mhm.
that talking about divorce is just, a hard thing to
Yeah.
openly discuss. So I appreciate you just being transparent, and I know that it's going, I always pray that it's going to just help one person, and
Yes.
it can improve, someone's life, and just
Yes.
help them to see or
Mhm.
hear a different perspective. So
Uh-huh.
I appreciate your
Absolutely.
time. And I wanted to piggyback on one thing that she said, and this just goes in general.
Uh-huh.
When something is keeping you up at night, in a marriage, outside of a marriage, in a relationship, you're dating, pay attention to the peace that you have, or the lack of peace that you
Mhm.
have whenever you're going through any type of situation. Because,
Uh-huh.
I, of course, everything that I do, the foundation is not, and yes, I am a Christian, but most importantly, I have a relationship with Christ. So I don't
Oh,
even want to get like super religious or deep with this,
uh-huh.
right? But
Right.
I do believe that God is a God of peace.
Uh-huh.
And when you lack peace, God is not present.
That's
So
right.
if you are going through a situation and you lack no peace, typically when, like, even when she said red flags, like sometimes we
Uh-huh.
try to make it, this particular thing was happening, or this particular thing, or I can't hear from God. Pay
Mhm.
attention to the peace that you have,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So if you
Oh, yeah.
lack peace in a certain situation, like she said, when you're losing sleep, there is no peace.
There
Okay.
is no peace.
So pay attention to the things that you're experiencing when it comes to
Uh-huh.
your peace, and follow your peace.
All of that. And you
Uh,
know what? I'm glad that you brought that up because speaking on how my life has changed, one of the first things that I'll tell everybody is that I have so much peace now,
yeah.
that I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to pay attention to that and take heed because we
Yeah.
give that up. Like she said, I ignored a lot of things. And now, because she pays attention to those things, she
Yeah.
has peace. And
Yeah.
it's something that's simple. And sometimes we make it
It
too
is.
we make it too deep and we
We,
put so much onto it. And it's like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really simple. You
Yep.
know what I mean? It really is. And that's how God works. I
Yep.
mean, you know what I mean? He's really a simple God. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you could just listen and take, take,
And do it.
yeah, you know what I
Because
mean?
like she said, you hear a lot of stuff, but are you really paying attention to it and applying
Yeah,
it to your life? We
that's
ignore
right.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's one thing I want to leave with you before we wrap up today's session. So, follow your peace and understand that God is always working, even when it feels like it's a hopeless situation or a dead
Mhm.
end situation. That's not the truth. And so, I'm just, as always, I declare that this is going to be the best week of your life. And
Yeah.
most importantly, get God involved in any situation that you're in. And I promise you, you will be 100 times better off. And
Yeah.
so I want to say thank you, Tinsley, for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
this was beautiful, and we'll have to do lunch for real, get
Oh
together.
yes, let's get it on the
Um,
calendar. No,
I'm
you
gonna do
did.
better with my adult. I'm in that I'm in that place where I'm still learning how to balance the mommy
Oh yeah. Oh
me
yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah.
So I
And
said I'm
that's
gonna
the
do
real
a bit
thing.
better.
It's the real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, we should.
so remember to like and subscribe because every Wednesday we're here talking about all things love and relationships and the real part of it, right? No fluff, no filter. So
Mhm.
you know what you're walking into. So I appreciate your time with us. Thank you for joining us for another segment of
Thank
Wifey
you.
Wisdom. And I will see you next week.
All right. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.